Can you please, it's connecting to YouTube right now. Kind of make me, hey, something's in the chat, or just somebody just ask it who's got a good internet connection, or got a mic that works. I'm gonna mute this. It's up in the chat, I don't respond to it right away. Me talking about my, stupid. Okay, so that's live streaming on YouTube, and then record. Done. Okay, so my daughter walked by a little while ago and goes, "Crickets, Dad," and walks away. And so basically my students were just sitting there going, yeah, and so I'm going to get ridiculed. Luckily, she's not here to ridicule me, but whatever. So what I think is that I really need people to chime in or say something so that we can have more of a discussion. I don't want to be a talking head with a little pink elephant over my shoulder. I want to be, I want this to try to be interactive the best you can. And I know it's clunky, and then there's a pause, and then your sounds garbled, and it's weird, and we all will get kind of used to it. So I'm going to ask a very simple question, okay? Sarah, what is this?
Mind over matter.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. Whoa, come on. When my pen starts getting weird, it means the batteries are dying. So sometimes there's a little bit of a lag on it. Okay, so mind over matter. Okay, so that just tells me a neat sentence. But what is mind? It doesn't tell me what it means. You can't be wrong. We haven't done anything yet.
Isn't the mind how like you think?
Okay, so your thoughts. Uh-oh. Little spinny wheel of death. And crash. Good job, PC. Okay. Okay, so that's one. Okay, what else is it? What else do you think it is?
Your knowledge.
Is that how you spell knowledge? I'm not very good with spelling. Knowledge.
Perception.
What do you mean when you say perception?
Like how you view other things that aren't yourself.
Okay.
Or even yourself too.
My Google wants to answer the question. My phone's like, how can I help? Okay. Because I ask, if you ask a bunch of questions and Google starts listening, even if you don't say the okay, Siri, ha. Okay. So, I'll write the word view down there. So your perception is kind of your view. Okay. So far, so good. What else do we get?
The mind is like, it helps you to think and to feel things.
Okay, so I'm going to put thoughts and I'm going to put feelings over here. Okay, what else? So when someone says you're losing your mind, what does that mean?
No longer.
You aren't thinking right.
Well,
mental stability.
I want to put the word right here because you're not thinking right, and stability. Anybody know what the word crazy comes from? I prefer cray-cray myself because I like Gravity Falls. But what does the word crazy mean?
Insane.
Not necessarily insane. Insane is a legal definition of not knowing what the difference between right and wrong.
Something that people don't usually do, like if you're crazy, like
Probably mentally deranged.
Oh, I like the word deranged. There's no way I can spell deranged properly. But female voice just said something right before loud male voice popped in.
I said it's like something people won't usually do. So if you're
Yeah.
crazy, you can do something else. That
So if we talk about someone
Abnormal.
who is crazy, we can talk about abnormal versus normal behavior. So maybe mind itself is the ability to be normal. And so when someone is crazed, they are abnormal. So I just use the word differently. It's not crazy. I use the word crazed. So the word crazed is a term from pottery or glasswork. And when something is crazed, it means it's got a crack in it. So when someone is considered crazy, what they're saying is that their mind is cracked, that it's broken. So this is kind of, I broke this into two different sections here, and we got two different ways of looking at it. One of it is a normal, oops, sorry. I need to paint this. I can't see there's two little dots on here. One allows you to erase, but because of the lighting in here, I can't see it and I can't feel it either. So I need to like paint it like bright orange or something, or get some nail polish and then ruin the pen. Anyway, so I'm gonna put the word here. It's called normative. Our society is based on norms. Why did I pick on Avery for being a volleyball player?
Did you said that she looked like other volleyball players?
She fits the norm for other volleyball players. And it's really funny because I have a friend named Bridget. You look literally a smitting image of this person named Bridget. And she was a volleyball player. And I'm gonna guess you're probably 5'9" or 5'10", even though you're just sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can I make these assumptions? How do I racially profile poor Avery?
Well, it's kind of hard though because you haven't seen me stand, so I think it's kind of weird how you.
Well, it's all the time I spend stalking. Oh, wait, sorry. No, but what it is, it's that if you can how do we judge people? We do this all the time. I had one student that was actually one of my daughter's friends was in my class. Trying to figure out her name's drawing a blank right now. When she's sitting down, she is ridiculously tall. When she stands up, she's normal height. She has a giant torso. Her torso is like ridiculously long. Okay, Emily. And what's funny about it is that if she's sitting in the back of your car, when you look in the mirror, you just see her chin. And it's one of those things where if you see this person out in the world, you don't notice the fact that she has a very long torso. But when she sits down, you do notice it. So why don't we notice a lot of things? How come we don't see a lot of things? How come a lot of things aren't in our perception?
Fuck.
Because they're normal.
We
Bless
haven't experienced it before.
It's maybe not experienced it before, but maybe you're not actually seeing the world as it actually is. Maybe you're filling in the gaps in the world with
Your mind.
the mind, right? Maybe you're filling in the world with this idea of mind. And sadly, this idea of mind is where racism comes from. And we're judging people and making assumptions about people. This is where it comes from, because our brain, our mind, this thing that we have, your thoughts, your feelings, even what you think is the truth of everything that you know, is based on perception. It's based on perception, not actual reality. Whew. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's look at this in a different way. Okay, so why do we have a mind?
because we're born with it.
can you prove you have a mind?
Maybe
It's not enriching knowledge.
So you can learn stuff.
Mhm.
Isn't proving if other people have minds the hard problem of consciousness?
Yeah, so that's actually, has anybody ever apologized to their car?
No.
Yeah.
Like I
I
Yeah.
have.
I have, yeah.
I've been getting talking about my car. I just get a phone call that's from these stupid people that are concerned that my warranty's expired. My minivan, it's got 123,000 miles on it because it's about to go 123, 123 on the odometer, so we're very excited. The warranty expired at 120,000 miles, and luckily for us, there's a pandemic, and so when we went down on lockdown, from March until the beginning of June, I used 2 tanks of gas. It's like I was supposed to be due for an oil change back in April. I didn't have to get the oil change until the end of June because I didn't drive. It was amazing. I hate burning fossil fuels. If I had an electric car, I would be so much happier, but they don't make an electric minivan. Well, they do, but it sucks. So if they made an electric minivan, I'd be all over it because we drag our poor van up to the mountains all the time with all of our stuff in it. Yes, I should get a Suburban, but whatever. Okay. So the biggest thing about why we have a mind is other minds. That's it. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem, but that's why we have a mind. Does my little white fluffy dog have a mind?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you say that so quickly. Why would you say that?
It's consciousness.
But does she have consciousness?
She has sentience.
Oh,
She's
define that.
aware of things, sensations, interpreted as electrical signals through the brain, maybe.
You're making a lot of assumptions there. So here's the dog. It's funny, I was going to pull up my Google Photos. So this is my little dog here. And she's sitting in the back. Her name is Nani, and we just call her Fluffy because that's her job. Yeah, wait for this to buffer a little bit and you can actually, okay, so now I'll play the video for you. She is sitting behind my wife. My wife is sitting in the pool. My wife is eating lunch in the pool because we have a pool and it's hot out. So she's sitting there roasting in the sun because it's really hot out. And so what do dogs do when they're really hot?
Stick their tongue out.
They pant. And as a white fluffy dog, she doesn't pant very often because it's beneath her. So she will generally go inside and sit near the air conditioning when she's hot. But as soon as my wife turns around, watch the dog. Oh, buffering. I'll try that again without it buffering.
Adds to the experience.
So she is, as soon as my wife turns around, the memory on this thing is running out. Let me close this software here real quick. Don't save. This makes an exciting YouTube video when I go through and close files so that my computer runs better. Come on. Close. No. That should help it. Sorry about that. All right. So she's sitting there and it's super hot. Oh, I must unmute. There you go. Sorry about that. Okay, so she's sitting there. It's super hot. She's panting. My wife turns around. She goes, I'm not panting. Why does she change her behavior? Is she conscious? I can give you a hint. Is it easy to eat or drink with your tongue hanging out of your mouth?
No.
It's really freaking hot in here, so that felt pretty good. Okay, so It's why, so, wait. Sometimes I don't think things through all the way. Hold on. That's why I'm kind of 14. So now, why did she pull her tongue back in?
She's self-conscious.
My wife's eating lunch sitting in the pool.
She
As my
thought
wife turns around,
Maybe she's hoping that she'll get a treat.
get food.
she's hoping she's going to get a treat. And so one of the big important things of having a mind, it's not just perception, which is now, it's perception in the
Future.
future. It's perception in the future. So maybe our dog does have a little bit of a mind. Maybe our dog can predict into the future. In the rats that I'm trying to get rid of in my neighborhood, okay, I've become a giant Elmer Fudd. All my neighbors are in on this thing, but it's like we get all paranoid at night because you hear the rats. I was working out in the garage here one night, and there's a big tree off that way, and then we have like one of those shade awnings that go between the garage and our deck on the house, and you hear this across the roof of the garage. And I look out, and there's like 10 rats just running in this giant herd across the garage roof, over this awning and up onto the awning above our deck, and then off into the tree behind it. And it's like, yuck. I mean, I love all creatures. I'm a big creature fan, and if there's a rat, I'm like, oh, look how cute it is. But there's 10 rats running across my roof toward my house. And when it was raining a lot in the spring, you heard this scritch, 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 and then them arguing under our house as they're staying out of the rain.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so anyway, but
I'm hunting rats.
I've killed 9 in the spring, and then I've killed 7 more since August, and I haven't seen any for the last couple days, and I'm wondering if I've scared them off enough, because won't be able to kill all of them because the restaurants are all closed around here, so that the rats have no place to go get food, so they're foraging everywhere. But the question is that do they really think into the future?
Yes.
No.
Or do they just pay attention to the environment better? Rats pay attention to the environment better. There's only 1 or 2 animals that think into the future. There's only 1 or 2 animals that think into the future. Anybody know what they are?
Humans.
Well, humans do it. Yep, that's one of the things that separates us from most other creatures, is that we think into the future. But there's 2 other animals that do it really well.
Dolphins.
Nah, dolphins can plan ahead.
Primates.
Dogs.
A lot of primates can't. Most of the primates in the world are going extinct because they can't think into the future.
Oh. Wow.
Cat?
No, cats. Cats are just taking
Bird?
advantage of you. It's just
Monkeys?
a negative, hostile relationship. Not dogs. Dogs are pretty good. Border collies can do 2 or 3 step problems where they can think into the future 2 or 3 steps.
Birds?
Yeah, bird.
What kind of birds?
The ones that fly, that migrate.
Well, actually, in my behaviorism class, we're going to talk about some migrating birds and these things called homing pigeons. My friends race pigeons, and they're really cool. They let him go in Las Vegas, and they fly back to his ranch in Bonita. It's like, how do they find their way back?
Nice.
He goes, they do. We trained them to. Like, oh, all right, good answer. Anyway, they're not really smart, though, because sometimes they just fly directly into buildings.
Like the Windex commercial.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more of a thunk than a splat. Okay, but one almost dive bombed me in the forehead the other day on our walk, just right over my head. It's like, geez. Anyway, so, but crows.
Oh, of course.
Crows solve
That makes
problems.
sense.
Crows are amazingly smart. They solve problems, and they solve problems that haven't occurred yet. if they see a problem developing, they can do things to prevent that problem from occurring. One of the favorite ones is that in Japan, they were building nests on these high power lines. And every so often they would build the nest and it would short out the power. And the people, so whenever the nest got to be a certain size, these guys would climb up the telephone poles and take their nests down. And so the crows started building their nests smaller.
Oh my God.
It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, and they're smaller because then the guys wouldn't have to climb up and take them down. And then when the guys still started climbing up and taking them down, they discovered that if they went and pushed the buttons on the truck that they were trying to climb up the little cherry picker thing, the thing would go down. And so the crow would swoop down and start pressing buttons on the little device, and the chair would start going down.
No way.
Has anybody seen the crows in their neighborhood dropping macadamia nuts?
Really? They do that?
Yeah. So,
Oh yeah, so they can crack open.
yeah. And they'll, whoever that is super garbly, but Rodrigo, if that was you, but they literally will fly up and drop a macadamia nut onto the street. And that's why if you find macadamia nuts on your street and you don't have a macadamia nut tree anywhere, that's generally the crows. And a lot of times they just wait for a car to drive over, then them hop over and then eat the eat the thing. Sometimes they'll drag dead bunny rabbits onto the road to let the cars drive over them multiple times, get it nice and squishy so that they can eat it better.
That is so smart.
Yeah. But so, okay, I have a thing for crows, but so this is actually really important. Why do you think we care about other minds then?
I guess because they have something sensitive of what they do.
They interact with each other.
But what does that help us do?
Build a society.
Carson, go ahead.
Oh, I just said.
Oh.
But it's more, so think about what the nature of perception is. Perception is reality. It's a view of the world, but also a view of what the future is. Do humans survive well by themselves?
No.
No. We don't do well by ourselves. So we need other minds. And when you relate to other minds, that's why if you notice, and please don't creep on anyone, but if you click on the chat, you can send a chat to any individual person in the class. If you know someone that you recognize or you see, if you see, I saw another name, anyway. But if you see somebody that you know, say in the chat, say, hey. And the reason I do that is because in most classes that we're sitting in, you would talk to the person sitting nearby. And that gives you a connection to another mind in the class. We're going to do a breakout room in a little bit where you can connect with about 4 other people. And if you're shy and don't feel like connecting with other people, just listen and put something in the chat saying, my mic doesn't work, and then you're fine. I'm good. I don't need to talk. But again, the reason why you want to talk to other people and interact with other people is because we decide what is normal from other minds. The biggest problem with other minds. What's the biggest problem with other minds?
They're not the same as ours.
Say it louder.
They're not the same as ours.
Yeah, they have a different perspective. Stop it. They have a different perspective. If I make a letter that's too close to a shape, it automatically becomes a shape, which is very satisfying when I draw a square. Oh, I missed it. Come on. There it goes. Sorry. Sorry. I like playing with the pen thing is great. My kids say I have the attention span of a very small child. Okay. So other minds have different perspectives, but something is really important about us as humans is that we can see other people's perspectives. you can see what someone else is seeing. So if I walk into my backyard and I look at my neighbor's house, I can make a good guess of what my neighbor can see from their yard. Ooh, that's deep.
That's weird.
That's important. Go ahead, Benny.
No, I just said that was weird.
It's not weird. Well, it's weird if you're looking in their windows. But you kind of like, we love our neighbors. Our neighbors are really wonderful people. Paul and Susan, they have 2 kids that are about the same age as our kids. We have Pete and Christy who live there. They have 3 kids. One of them, the little one's 8 or 9 now, I don't know. But they have a kid in college and they have a kid that's my daughter's age. Bob and Marcy, their kids are old, but their grandkids live there. There's Janine and Chris and Jasmine and her boyfriend, I don't remember his name. And then there's Todd and Scott. You can always tell Todd and Scott because either Todd or Scott always cannonballs into their pool whenever they get home. And here's a loud splash coming in. Well, but the nice thing is that you know where all the neighborhood is. And by knowing where all the neighborhood is, by knowing all the people, and by knowing the different perspectives, I know that Pete and Christy, whenever they're cooking something, they set their fire alarm off all the time. And it's really funny. So every time the fire alarm goes off, I text Pete, say, your pizza's done. And he always replies, thanks. And then the back door opens and all the smoke comes out. But by knowing different people, by knowing different perspectives, it allows us, it's a lot easier to live in our neighborhood that we know everybody who lives around us. And by knowing everybody's perspectives, you can get an understanding of what's going on, and you understand what is okay and not okay. It tells you what is normative. So now, this is very fine and good. So why do we care about different perspectives? Why do we care about other minds?
So we can learn from them.
How?
You can get new ideas.
We can get cause and effect.
Yeah.
So I like that, new ideas. So we have a chip in our brain, okay? Not a chip, it's actually called your prefrontal cortex, but whatever. The word chip is just a metaphor for processing unit, okay? But we look for cause and effect in the world. We look for things with purpose and intent. So as we're running around the world, as we're zigzagging around this planet, looking at all the sensory environment that we have, trying to perceive everything, what is the knowledge that we're trying to gain? What is the information or the ideas that we're trying to gain? This is very philosophical.
Something that can benefit behavior.
Benefit our behavior when?
When we need it.
Well, if we're like a dog, it benefits our behavior right now. So if we're like the rats, it benefits their behavior right then. The reason why they haven't been getting caught in my traps anymore is because I'm the one who set the traps. If I set the traps, my Weinert stink is on the traps. The rat walks by his dead friend, smells the dead rat, smells the Weinert stink, and says, got it. Weinert stink equals don't eat that. And so as long as the rats, if it's the same batch of rats, the same herd of rats that's been running across the roof, they all run by the dead rat with the Weinert stink on it. They all avoid anything that I've ever touched. How come I caught a bunch at the end of the semester and then I caught a bunch in August?
They didn't make the association at that time.
Different rats. Rats can live about 300, 400 days in the wild. And so after about 150 days, the probability of the same rat running by my house is very low. They also produce a litter of 21 pups every, I think, 21 days. So every 20 days, you've got another 20 rats if they're being fed properly. That's why you get a cat. Yes, they're trying to take over your life slowly, but our neighbor's cat has like just a trail of dead rats around its house. And they're like, yep, I'm allergic to cats. I can't have a cat. But, and our dog loves rats and she really wants to catch one. But hold on, totally worth it. Terriers were bred for hunting rats.
They were, yeah.
And so as a cute little white fluffy dog, here I am holding a rat in a trap, and watch her face. Look at that look on her face.
It's like little gray things of that.
Yeah, that's a rat in the trap right there. She wants that rat so bad.
She does want that rat, yeah.
I mean, it's she's begging for it harder than she's begging for my wife's sandwich. And I let her sniff one once, and she like completely attacked it, like pounced on it and grabbed it in her mouth, like, ah! I'm like, yuck. Go brush her teeth. Okay. But the cool thing is the rat doesn't think of purpose and intent. The rat doesn't go, is that the old man over there who's slightly crazy is trying to kill me? What does the rat think?
He might have food, maybe.
That smell is going to kill me. I'm not going to go for that smell. That's it. And so what's cool about us is that we look for this cause and effect in the future. We see, it's really funny, something like alcohol. Is alcohol good for you or bad for you?
Bad for you.
It's bad for you. Everybody knows it's bad for you. People try to guess, oh, no, it's good for you. No, it's not. Okay, alcohol is a poison. It's toxic. Why do we drink it?
Because it makes you stupid.
It makes you feel good. And sometimes being stupid is you lose your mind a bit. Because if you're always thinking about every single cause and effect relationship in your space and trying to look into the future all the time, it's 2 a.m, you can't sleep because you're worried about all the stuff you have to do. Yay. So if you don't drink at 2 a.m, never good comes from drinking that early in the morning or late in the morning or whatever it is for you. But what happens is that you lose that purpose and intent. And when you take your mind off a little bit, your future goes away. And when your future goes away, you feel relaxed. That's why alcohol is such a positive drug for our consciousness, but it's very bad for your body. It has lots of negative health effects, especially if you drink enough that it hurts you. My dad died from alcoholism when he was 52. I am 50. I don't drink that much. And so I kind of, it gets very real. And this is weird. So some of you are going to be to this age soon. When you can remember the age that you are right now, you can remember your parents at your age. So like do some math, figure out when you're like 4, how old were your parents when you were like 4? And when you get to be that age, you're like, hey, I'm the same age as my parents. Then when you get older, it's like, I'm the same age as my parents were when they died. The dog doesn't think like that. We can't look at cause and effect relationships. We can't look at different perspectives. Can you look at your perspective from different versions of your own self?
Mm-hmm. You could. I mean, you have to try hard to remember it all. But
Do you act the same way around your parents as you do around your friends?
No.
So you have multiple selves. You can think, ooh, if I did this in front of my parents, that would be embarrassing, but I can do it now. You can actually think about your own self in different perspectives. And that's why my wife's name is Jenna. And then, so we, around our house, we always kind of tease her a little bit because, a lot of it actually, but she does everything right. And she's very good at doing everything right. I do most things slightly right, mostly wrong-ish. Okay. And so like, I don't mind making a mess. I don't mind dumping water on my shirt, which is almost dry. And she would just be horrified that I dumped water all over my shirt in class because it's not right. Okay, but the fun thing is I can think from her perspective. So before she gets home, I can make sure the house is acceptable for her because I can think from her perspective. I can understand things from her perspective. I can use her mind to project into my future. Very exciting. We've been married for 22 years this year. Been together for 25 years. And I'm very happy. She's annoyed with me most of the time, but hey, I'm annoying. She's crabby and I'm annoying. Good relationship.
I would definitely say your energy is very high and
Yeah,
yeah.
that's part of the reason why I'm annoying.
No, you're not.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm like this pretty much all the time. And I mean, I'm drinking water. I wish I had more caffeine, but I don't. It's just because if I drink coffee all day, I do have a bathroom and it's right here. But I would be just going back and forth to the bathroom all day because caffeine's a diuretic, and being out here and it's so hot, I have to drink a ton of water. And the combination of the two it's not worth it.
It's not a good idea. No.
Mm-mm.
I could just go. No, I won't do that. I like the rug. Okay. It's like surfing. Just go.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to dump you into breakout rooms. Okay. So I've given you a kind of an idea of what the mind is. Okay, you guys did it great. It's thoughts, it's your feelings, and mostly it's your perception. Your mind is perception. It's your view. And it's not just your view of now, it's your view of the future. It's also your normative. You also have to understand that the mind is your perspective of what is okay and not okay. And why do you think I asked you about your culture for the first assignment?
I guess to kind of gain an idea of what our version of normal is, or what we perceive as normal as.
Yeah, to see what our norms are.
Yes, whoever was talking, you just barely registering on the thing. I could barely hear you, but we have to see what your norms are. And if I understand where your norms are, I can then start to make different assessments and trying to understand your perspective on things. And this is something that faculty really need to do, is to listen to their students' perspective and try to understand how a student's perspective is different than their perspective. I come from a very biased culture. When I was in high school, it wasn't a question of going to college or not. It was, which college are you going to? There was not even a hint of, okay, my dad basically said, okay, you're graduating. He lived in California. My mom lived in Vermont. And he said, if you want to go to an in-state school in California, I'll pay for it. He didn't actually, but that's not important. Different story. He said, I'll pay for it if you go to any of the state schools. Back then, it was $600 a semester to go to a state school.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, and that's not living in the dorms. The dorms was an extra like $2,000 or something, but I didn't live in the dorms. I got really sleazy apartments and never got any sort of infections, which is nice. We had some friends that moved into a place by 52nd Street and they all got bed bugs.
Oh my God.
It was disgusting. Anyway, so, but throughout my entire college, it was like, which school are you going to? Nobody helped me apply. I mean, I had to go do all that stuff myself, but back then they basically did a pulse check and they admitted you to San Diego State. If you got the money, you got in state, come on in. And my freshman year at San Diego State in 1988 was 38,000 students on campus. And the crazy part is the largest city in Vermont has 26,000 people in it. That's the biggest city in Vermont. And my town had 1,200 people in it. And to go from 1,200 people to San Diego State was just massively insane. My culture did not fit San Diego culture. Luckily, the people on the track team, I had a track scholarship, took me under their wing and indoctrinated me to San Diego culture. And I started eating lots of carne asada burritos. From every Regrettos that we could find. Regrettos are any of the Alberto, Sumberto, Royberto, Hoyberto, Alberto Taco, which is right down the street from our house, which is under new ownership and just as crappy as it was under the old ownership. I felt bad. The lady that used to work there when I was in college still worked there as far as 2 years ago. The same lady. It's pretty awesome. Okay.
Weinert,
Yes.
someone has something to add in chat.
Oh, thank you. I can't see the chat. Where's my chat window? There it is. Oh, thank you, Andrew. Okay, I like the word used, the word generalized. Okay. That's generalized is another form for normative. Okay. What's great about us, if one culture does something that's completely insane compared to another culture, you think that that person is acting strangely. How do you understand a different culture's morals or values?
I guess you compare it to what your normal is.
Yeah, you compare it to your normative assessment. How do you understand a culture? How do you understand different kinds of people? What's the best way to do it?
Talk to them. Ask them questions.
Observe.
I guess have an inquisitive mind, I guess, or be open-minded and not narrow-minded.
See, that's using the mind, but one of the things you have to do is not talk to people, but listen to people.
Observe.
Observe, pay attention. And that's use a critical mind. A critical mind is what we're basically going to be talking about next week. Yeah, so morals, that's another big can of fish to go with this. What is morally correct?
Wouldn't that fall back on the cause and effect?
Yeah, it goes back to what you assume is the proper cause and effect relationship in the world. It's a really dangerous place, because you could say one thing is extremely moral, in a different situation that behavior is not moral at all. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later when we start talking about personality and yourself and the environment that you live in and how your morals develop and where they come from. But what we're going to do now is we're going to break into groups, and I want to see if you can come on.
Listen to other people.
He wrote that down, but I don't see anything else yet.
Right there now. It's lagging. We're going to see if we can measure the mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it took a second. I wrote it and then it went away and then it came back and then it went away. So there's a lag time between my tablet and the computer for some reason. It's probably because it's hot. My tablet feels very toasty. I might have to get one of those laptop cooling things for it because it's very uncomfortable. It's the fan's on and it's puffing lots of air out. So
yeah, I just bought one for my laptop too.
Oh, I could just sit it on a block of ice. That would be fine too. Can't see how that could go wrong at all.
I know,
okay.
right?
So, I have a case on it. I might take the case off of it, and that might help it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to break you into little breakout groups of about 3 or 4 people each group. Okay, and what I want you to do is I want to ask the question is, how are you going to measure the mind? How are we going to do this? We've got a pretty good description of what it is. Okay, it's something where it has something to do with perception. It has something to do with being able to understand what is normal. Because when it's broken, you behave abnormally. And it's all about other minds. Okay, so I'm going to click on this little thing that says breakout rooms. And what's going to happen is I'm going to create a room with, I'm going to create 10 of them without 4 rooms. We lost 3 people because I'm that exciting. so, and it's going to randomly dump you into these rooms. And then I'm going to tell you when you have about a minute left. We're only going to do it for about 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So you can chat in your room. You can, somebody else's abandoned ship. Break up rooms. Ah, I'm out. Okay. You can also just talk to each other, or I just need one person in the group to be able to either post on the chat or say something when they come back about what they talked about.
What do you mean by measured?
Well, that you're going to have to talk about that with your group.
Okay.
Okay.
He's making us work.
No, I'm just making you think. You don't really have to do anything. It's just cognitive energy. Okay. So all the rooms, just click join when it asks you to join.
Okay, there we go. I see it. Okay.
Yep. Almost everybody's in there. Come on, Kristen, you can do it.
Oh, do I have to click on something?
Yeah, click join.
Okay, click.
You can do it, Manny. Stacy, can you figure it out? Manny, Daisy, Manny, Daisy. Hey, you got it. While I'm talking to the live stream, I just realized I flushed the toilet on the live stream. Excellent for the recording.
Professor, are you there? Damn, maybe they kicked me out of my breakout room. No, professor. Minimize meeting, virtual background disconnect. All right then. Me too. Great. Well then. Yeah, I can't believe it kicked me out of the meeting room. That's so stupid. I wonder where he got a scholarship for in track. Distance runner. Looks like one sprinter. I felt I felt a distance runner. The goat. Well, this is trash. Let's see when he gets back. So he'll be like, "Why are you doing here? Blah blah." Kick me out of the meeting room. So dumb.
I think you're muted.
Yeah, I saw the mute thing and I unmuted it. Unless
Okay, there we go. No, thank you. Okay,
Mr.
can you guys
Weinert
hear me?
too.
Oh, okay. I must have pressed something.
I think everyone's muted.
yeah, I
Uh-oh.
For some
think
reason
it
I was
does
muted.
do that.
Sorry
Oh,
about
okay,
that.
there we go.
Automatically.
All right. So,
Hey, Professor.
Sorry.
so what do we come up with?
This way.
Thank you, darling.
In our
Oh.
group, we talked
I
about
lose my-
like we measured our mind with other people's minds, like with our surroundings.
Sienna's talking, but I can't hear anything. What happened? Hold on. Science. How about that? Sienna, say something.
Hi.
Hey, woohoo. Okay, I'm sorry. When I joined the group and it muted everything and changed everything. So that was weird. Sorry about that. Okay, good.
I was just saying how in our group we talked about how we measure our mind with other people's minds. Like we take from we perceive what others do or say, and we have like we normalize something.
Okay.
And then with that we can measure our own mind.
Yeah, we were saying that we kind of measure it like the way like personality, sort of a little bit.
Okay, so I'm gonna write personality here. So how many people in here have taken a personality test?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Myers-Briggs.
Yes.
The Myers-Briggs.
No, we took the Myers-Briggs.
Yeah. So a lot of people do the counseling. Sorry, Manny, it kicked you out. I apologize. What does the Myers-Briggs give you though?
I believe it gives you the but I think
Introversion, extroversion spectrum.
Yeah, it gives you scales.
Mm-hmm.
So a scale is a number, like the one that we're going to do in here, it gives you a percentage. And so the percentage basically tells you what type of person are you likely to be. In other words, which normative category are you likely to fit into? So
yes.
Yeah. So that's a way of trying to put people into boxes to try to measure their minds. Watching how other people react to you, believe it or not, that's actually really a great thing for your group that came up with that. You'll learn that as we get on later in the semester, they're going to talk about something called social psychology quite a bit, that yourself, who you actually are, is defined by the people around you, not by your own internal factors.
Really?
Yeah, it's really annoying. The way you become conscious and have self-esteem is by other people giving you respect. And that is not always the case, of course, because we'll talk about this in a minute, but we're not a very good science. But what you can see is that other people's way of viewing you changes how you view yourself. And that's why it's so important to recognize people's culture and recognize the value that people have, as opposed to normalizing them and just assuming that they're a certain way. And that's why it's so important to understand the perspective that the person has. Gabrielle and Dulce, in the group that I was talking about, they basically, one I can't remember which one of the two said it, but it said, this is hard. I don't really understand what to do. This is very hard. And understanding what to do is very difficult at this point of the class, because I'm asking you to do something that you can't do. You can't measure the mind. A personality scale is not measuring the mind, it's measuring your answers to tests.
That's true.
Reactions from other people is measuring other people's minds, not yours. So what else? Did anybody else come up with something else that we could talk about?
One of the things that my group talked about was the Sally Ann test.
Give me some details.
So it's basically one of the things that is kind of like a hallmark in, I guess, like child development is around like the age of 5, kids start to understand that all the things that they know aren't necessarily like common knowledge. So the Sally Ann test is basically a test that they do with dolls, where one doll will place an object like in a basket and then leave. And then a second doll will come in and then move the object. And when the first doll returns, they'll ask the kid, where do you think they'll look for the object? And normally kids around the age of 5 start to understand like the perspective of the original like doll or person, and that they'll look where they left the object. But children under that age will normally say that they'll look where they know the object is, because they assume that everyone has the same knowledge they have.
So this is called, it's actually called, we call it this, it's called the false belief test is what they call it in this book.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't know what it was called in that particular book. But the false belief test is something happens at age 5. And there's something happens also at age 8.
Really? I didn't know that.
The mind comes online. And so there's actually 2 videos in the assignment for this. There's actually 2 videos of my son, one at 18 months. We'll test his mind. And then there's one when he's 3, and we test his mind. And then there's another video of researchers scanning brains while people are doing this false belief test. So we can actually start to see brain scan. Did anybody come up with mind as measuring brain? Somebody said that earlier on.
I would say like some kind of test, but I don't know, or like a brain scan or something. I'm not.
Well, I have an EEG. We started a couple of years ago. We started a lab for the Cuyamaca College study of mind and behavioral research. And I started the lab because I wanted to give students experience in doing brain research. And I worked in a lab for years when I was in graduate school and undergraduate, and we did brain scan recordings and EEG recordings. And I worked a lot with rats. Maybe that's why they're haunting me now. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's their karma.
I'll be in purgatory for many years with rats picking my brain out. But it's the cross I'm willing to bear. But I love all animals, and I really the whole time that I worked at the lab, I had an ulcer and it was terrible. And the professor that I was working for said, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Well, it's what I want to do." And he goes, "No, it isn't." Like, you're kind of right, because I was sick the whole time I was working there. And as soon as I left, and well, I wanted to be a professor, and that's what you do. Professors, you work at a lab, you do research, you wear a lab coat, you go to a big university. And he said, "No, go teach." So he helped me get into a teaching credential program. I got my high school teaching credential. I started teaching high school, which was totally fun. And then I got this job in 2001. And so,
wow.
And so, yeah, it was like, teaching for me it's like, you know, my kids like, "Oh, I have to go back to school." And for me, it's like, I get to go back to school. Okay. Sorry. But the idea is that we have a lab on campus that we can study your brain. I have an EEG that if we had someone sitting in class, we could glue it on their head and we'll put their brain waves up on the computer. I can show you videos of me gluing it on a student's head and putting their brains up on a computer. And I have one student playing Slither, if anybody's ever played Slither.
I love that game.
Yeah, you can play it with your mind. You can play it with the brain scanner. And you learn how to control the dot around the screen by using your brain waves. Because your brain is
so cool.
It is totally cool. Totally worth the thousands of dollars that I pay for this thing so I can play video games with it. Anyway, but so the idea of brain is huge. We're going to spend probably too much time talking about the brain, probably at least 2 classes talking about the brain, because to me, that's the most fascinating stuff. But at the same time, getting back, when we try to measure the mind, anybody know the biggest problem with it?
There's no like
Intangible.
correct scale.
I don't know if I can spell intangible.
Do you want me to spell it?
Nah, I can just be illiterate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So intangible means you can't hold it.
No. It's not something you can physically touch or anything.
Yeah, you can't hold it. So something that's intangible, it's something the mind is an idea. It is not something that exists. But it does have power over our behavior. It does have power over self. And so the assignment, let me go to here. Okay, stop share. Okay, so if I go onto my canvas here. Okay. Oh, now my remote control is off. Right. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go up to Canvas. Okay. And oh, there's the live stream. Hi, live stream. Okay. Go to Canvas, and I'm going to the mindless. Okay, so this is the assignment that you're going to do. Okay, 2 videos of my kid, and then use the language from the first chapter. The link is right there. And how does the state of mind in each video using the vocabulary from this first chapter? We went through most of the vocabulary in class today, believe it or not. Okay, and then so once you go through you can start to see the growing of the kid's mind. And the key words to remember, the key things to remember is that future. Can you make a prediction about the future? Do you know what's going to happen now versus what's going to happen next? Is there a way that you can determine what is next? And so my poor little 8-month-old, he can't do it. My toddler can sort of do it. Then we show the real science of it. And this is a really great TED Talk. The really cool thing is that she has this electromagnetic pulse generator that messes with people's brains. So watch the whole thing. Don't just watch the first few minutes of it. Okay, so can you really be wrong in your response to this?
Not really, because it's an intangible thing.
Yeah, it's an intangible thing. So what I want you to do is I want you to watch it, and this is the key, is to try to use the vocabulary of the class. Try to use the vocabulary to explain what you're seeing. Again, there's no right answer because we're talking about something that is intangible that doesn't really exist.
Okay.
Okay, so just try. So I'm going to be going on and grading stuff. I got to figure out what I'm making for dinner if I'm taking my son to the beach. So that's my plan for the rest of the afternoon.
Awesome. I made fajitas yesterday.
I can't. Oh, we made. What did I have yesterday? Oh, we make this mushroom and turkey tacos.
Oh, good.
There you go with your mushrooms again.
Yeah. Mushrooms.
Oh, they're really good. You grind them up and you can add it to non-fat turkey and it makes it taste like it's fatty. And with lots of, with tomato, I'll post the recipe on here. Hold on.
Yummy.
Okay, you can run away if you don't care about the recipe. I'm going to hit the stop recording now, wherever my little chat box is. I lost the screen. Oh, I'm sharing my screen, that's why. There we go. Okay, so I will post